What do you do with Zion Williamson? The New Orleans Pelicans have three options they can do. They can trade him, they can cut him, or they can keep him. Today, I'm going to give you those three arguments to each side of the coin of why it's the best possible move for the Pelicans, and then at the end, I will give you what I would do. New Orleans Pelicans haven't achieved a whole lot in the Zion Williamson era. They haven't really made a deep playoff run like we all thought they would with all the young talent they had at their disposal. And a big part of that is because Zion hasn't been healthy, which is why I think a team could look to trade him, like the Pelicans. And I don't know what his market is, which makes a trade so hard, because he's a freakish talent, and when he is on the court, oh boy, is he hard to stop. But the problem is on the court. Who's going to give up assets for him? How much will they give up? Like, what do we look at for a Zion Williamson trade? And that becomes very, very tricky. I don't know exactly what team would really go out of their way to get a Zion Williamson. He's so talented but has so many injury concerns. I look at the Los Angeles Lakers. Zion Williamson would play great with Luka Doncic. Problem is, he has health concerns, and if you're the Lakers, do you really want to give up that many picks that it would take to get Zion Williamson, perhaps? I don't think so. Then maybe you look at a Boston Celtics, who are looking at a complete and total revamp of their team. A young guy like Zion, maybe you trade them a Kristaps Porzingis, Drew Holiday. You get out of those two contracts you take on Zion to see if it works in a gap year. Or do the Warriors maybe look to move Draymond and a bunch of other stuff to get him, to add just that extra piece that the Warriors could desperately need, because they need a third star? It's so hard to predict with what they could do. Even a team like the Bucks, like Pelicans, could be in on Giannis. Maybe you look to trade Zion for Giannis and you give the Bucks all of their picks back, which would be probably the best deal the Bucks could get, getting their picks back. But then again, what exactly does Zion bring to the table? Do the Bucks look to keep him then? Do they trade him themselves? Is it a 3-team deal? There's so many different avenues of a trade because it's so hard to predict with Zion. But I have one trade here for you today. Now, before people get mad at this trade because you can say it's not appropriate value, this honestly what I think his value is because of all the injuries. And that would be a trade to the Chicago Bulls for Patrick Williams, Nikola Vucevic, and the 12th overall pick in this year's draft. I think that's all Zion's value is because of his injury issues. He is so talented when he's on the court, but he's not on the court enough to really hamper up that value. And as they say, the number one ability teams want is availability. Zion hasn't proved that. Now, he could get healthy after leaving New Orleans. That's very possible. But it's not something I'd necessarily bet on happening. Now let's look at the second option the New Orleans Pelicans can do, and that'd be cutting Zion Williamson. New Orleans Pelicans can get completely out of Zion's contract if they cut him by July 12th. As crazy as that is to sound, his contract is not guaranteed, and the Pelicans can completely wipe their hands clean of it. Now, this would be something unprecedented to see a player cut like this, a young player too like Zion Williamson. His injury history has been very well documented, but is it enough for the Pelicans to move off him? Let alone you probably have a team that would pick him up and be happy to pay him. Instead of having to trade for him, you could sign him as a free agent. You don't have to give up the assets you'd be risking. That's a better deal for you. Which makes me think this is the least likely possibility and probably the least likely thing I would personally do. But it is still out there, and it's something that should be discussed because in the NBA, in the new CBA, salary cap is king. If you can have a lot of salary cap and you are headed towards a rebuild like the Pelicans could potentially be off a Zion Williamson trade, having all that salary cap to have teams trade you their bad contracts with first-round picks, like we saw the Nets do to retool before they brought in KD and Kyrie, as bad as that turned out, they did a good job building that team back up and acquiring a bunch of high-end picks because teams didn't like the contracts they signed. That's something the Pelicans could look to do. Now, the last option is just keep Zion and see if it works out, which is what I'd expect the Pelicans to do, honestly. Zion is still an extremely talented player. He's just frustrating that he's not on the court. But when he's on the court, he can just go off. As you see the video on the screen right now, it's from his game against the Kings this season where he went off for 40 points, and he made it look easy. Zion can just do things other people can't naturally do. And it's what makes him so frustrating. It's probably what drives Pelicans fans, the general manager, the coaching staff, everyone around that team insane. Because if he could just be on the court, this team's probably much better because they have a lot of pieces around him. Trey Murphy is awesome. Herb Jones is a great defender. Deontay Murray, who they just brought in, is a very good player. Jose Alvarado is a great bench player. They have so much talent that it's just frustrating to see this hasn't worked out yet. But it's also why I still see them running it back, because all that talent, you don't want to lose it. Now, what I would do if I was the Pelicans, and this might sound crazy after what I just said of why they want to keep him, I'd trade him. I'd honestly trade him because I can't bet on him staying healthy. And it's just something that we're going to keep on saying over and over again. If he was just healthy, if he was just healthy, if he was just healthy. And those ifs and ifs and ifs build up, and I just don't buy them at all. I look at Zion, and I look at his value not being good. It's probably really bad compared to what you could get if he was playing full time. And I know that argument is you don't trade him now when his value's low. He keeps on having injury issues. That value is going to get lower and lower and lower. Sometimes you just have to pick the right time to sell until you hold it in its negative stock. Right now, the Pelicans should just sell and get the assets while they can. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you like this video, hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. I'm going to have a lot more NBA content coming up, whether it's the NBA draft, NBA offseason. I have a bunch of YouTube shorts dropping now in the next couple of days and weeks probably. I'm going to be doing an offseason projection for every single NBA team in 60 seconds. It's going to be a fun project. So far, the first two up and will be the Utah Jazz and Washington Wizards. This will be how they finish in the regular season. And maybe I'll save the Final Four playoff teams for last, depending on how long it takes to do all this. But thank you very much for watching. If you'd share this, I greatly appreciate it. And have a great day.